There is one responsibility of a prime minister that comes before every political promise, before trade, before foreign policy, and before elections, and that is keeping Canadians safe. Because none of the opportunities we talk about, whether it's building the economy, creating jobs, lowering taxes, or investing in communities, mean very much if people don't feel safe walking down their own streets, sending their children to school, or simply living their daily lives without fear. Today, Mark Carney made one of the most important announcements of his time in office, not because it involved billions of dollars or another international summit, but because it affects every single Canadian. Whether you live in Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary, Halifax, or a small town anywhere across the country, today was about your neighborhood, your family, your children, and your right to feel safe. Carney announced major criminal justice reforms aimed at keeping violent repeat offenders behind bars, strengthening protections for places of worship, cracking down on online exploitation, and giving police stronger tools to protect communities. For many Canadians, this was not just another political announcement. It was a clear statement about what the federal government's first responsibility should always be. Now, let's take a closer look at exactly what was announced and why it could become one of the defining domestic policy decisions of this government.
The first job of the federal government is to keep Canadians safe. And this year, our government has introduced 6 new laws to combat crime and protect you and your kids. In total, there are more than 80 targeted changes to the criminal code to keep violent and repeat offenders off your streets, to overhaul the bail and sentencing systems, and to give police officers the tools they need to keep you safe. Thanks to these new laws, if a violent criminal wants to get out on bail, the state doesn't have to prove why they should stay behind bars. That individual now has to prove to the court why they can be trusted. If someone tries to intimidate you or block you from going to your church, your synagogue, your mosque, or your temple, police officers now have the authority to arrest them. If someone shares a fake, sexualized image of you or your kids online, they can get up to 10 years in prison. In Canada, you should be able to wake up, go to work, drop your kids off at school, visit your place of worship, sleep safely at night. When our laws fail to protect those basic rights, the government needs to make new laws. So that's exactly what we did. That's how we're building a stronger, safer Canada.
Mark Carney opened his remarks with a simple but powerful message. He said the federal government's first responsibility is to keep Canadians safe. Everything that followed was built around that principle. His government has introduced 6 new bills that include more than 80 targeted changes to Canada's criminal code, all aimed at tackling violent crime, dealing with repeat offenders, and improving public safety. This was not presented as a single, standalone reform. Instead, it was introduced as part of a broader plan to strengthen public confidence in Canada's justice system. One of the biggest changes announced today focuses on bail. For years, Canadians have debated whether violent repeat offenders were being released back into their communities too quickly after being arrested. According to Carney, that burden has now shifted. Instead of prosecutors having to prove why certain violent offenders should stay behind bars, those offenders will now have to convince the court why they should be released. Supporters say this change puts a stronger focus on protecting the public while still allowing the courts to consider every case on its own merits. The announcement was not limited to violent crime alone. It also included measures that affect Canadians in their everyday lives. Carney highlighted new protections that allow police to step in when individuals intimidate or block people trying to attend churches, synagogues, mosques, or temples. He also announced tougher penalties for anyone who creates or shares fake sexualized images online, with sentences of up to 10 years in prison. These measures were presented as a way to protect not only public safety, but also Canadians' freedom to live their daily lives without intimidation or exploitation. In the end, today's announcement was about more than simply changing laws. It was about defining the kind of country Canadians want to live in, a country where parents feel safe dropping their children off at school, where families can worship freely, where communities feel protected, where online abuse carries real consequences, and where violent repeat offenders face stricter scrutiny before returning to the streets. Whether every measure achieves its intended goals will become clear over time, But today's message from the government was unmistakable. Public safety comes first.
La tâche principale du gouvernement fédéral est d'assurer la sécurité des Canadiennes et des Canadiens. Cette année, notre gouvernement a adopté 6 nouvelles lois pour lutter contre la criminalité et protéger vous et vos enfants. Au total, plus de 80 modifications ciblées ont été apportées au Code criminel pour empêcher les délinquants violents et récidivistes de circuler librement dans les rues. Nous avons aussi réformé les systèmes de mise en liberté sous caution, déterminé les peines et donné aux policiers les outils nécessaires pour assurer votre sécurité. Grâce à ces nouvelles lois, si une personne tente de vous intimider ou de vous empêcher de vous rendre à votre église, votre synagogue, votre mosquée ou votre temple, les policiers ont maintenant le pouvoir de l'arrêter. Si une personne diffuse en ligne une image fausse et à caractère sexuel de vous ou de vos enfants, elle sera passible d'une peine pouvant aller jusqu'à 10 ans de prison. Si une criminelle violente souhaite être libérée sous caution, l'État n'a plus à prouver pourquoi il devrait rester derrière les barreaux. C'est maintenant à cet individu de prouver aux tribunaux qu'on peut lui faire confiance. Au Canada, vous devriez pouvoir vous révéler, au travail, déposer vos enfants à l'école, vous rendre dans votre lieu de culte et dormir en toute sécurité la nuit. Comme nos lois ne protègent pas assez ces droits-là, le gouvernement doit en adopter des nouvelles. C'est ça qu'on a fait. C'est comme ça qu'on bâtit un Canada plus fort, puis plus sécuritaire.
Today's announcement was about more than politics. It was about giving Canadians peace of mind. Because every Canadian, no matter where they live, how they vote, or what they believe, shares one basic expectation. They want to feel safe walking through their communities. They want to know their children are protected, their places of worship remain secure, and that the justice system gives public safety the priority it deserves. With 6 new laws and more than 80 targeted changes to Canada's criminal code, the government has laid out its vision for how it plans to address these concerns. Whether these reforms deliver the results Canadians expect will become clearer over time, but today's announcement leaves no doubt about the government's message. Keeping Canadians safe is not just another policy goal. It is the foundation on which every other national priority depends. If you enjoyed today's analysis, don't forget to subscribe to Canada Today. Give this video a thumbs up and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think these new public safety measures will make a meaningful difference in your community?